I used Pucatrade for a few months in order to get a feel for the site and see if I could say anything about it on my channel. And what I came away with was quite negative. However, I wasn't really going to make a video on it. I made the script, but then I decided not to post it because I decided most people probably don't care. But then I saw this post, and it turns out that maybe you guys want to hear what I have to say about Pucatrade. So let's get started. No foils? Why the hell not? Didn't I just trade away all these cards so that I could foil out my deck? Are these your foils that you don't want to trade away? No, they are your members' foils who are trying to trade them. You're slowing down the flow of your own service in order to try to force people to give you cash for something that is a normal feature of Magic trading. Another problem with Pucatrade is that it helps out scammers for no discernible reason. Price spikes happen all the time in Magic, and it's really unfortunate on Pucatrade because you better know all the price spikes that occur as soon as they occur, because someone can send you that card after it's spiked, and they don't even have to be the person who caused the spike. They're just the ones who will wreck you with it. However, another thing is that when a card gets banned, Pucatrade doesn't care at all. They will let somebody send you a pile of banned cards for the price right before it was banned. Now you've got a bunch of banned cards that you clearly have no use for, and Pucatrade's just like, yeah, well, it seems a little bit shady, but that's what the site's about. It's not a problem. Of course, Pucatrade will sell you a feature to stop this from happening. If you have a pro account, then you can set a limit on how much you want to spend on cards. Now, I haven't used this feature because I was trying to get the viewpoint of the average trader on a free account, but it sounds like a hassle to me to set the maximum price for every single card in your want list. I don't think that actually counts as a feature. Of course, there is an easy way to stop this from happening. Pucatrade can simply keep track of any card that's doubled in the past week. That's very simple to do. And then any card that's undergone that change, when somebody tries to trade it, then they just send an email confirmation saying, hey, would you still like to receive this card? It's doubled in price or whatever. And the person can say yes or no and doesn't get scammed. That seems like common sense to me. And speaking of gold membership, let's talk about the Puka point bonus offered for upgrading your account. In the first few weeks of January, this was on offer. For a gold account, you would get 9,000 Puka points for subscribing. For a silver account, you would get 4,500 Puka points for subscribing. Remember, a Puka point is supposed to approximate 1 US cent. And how much do these services cost? $90 and $45, respectively. That is bullshit. They are paying you for giving them money with other people's cards. When I go to a hairdresser, they don't give me a haircut and $20 worth of supplies for $20. That's what's going on here. They are presenting their service as literally worthless, yet they still manage to move money around. Now that seems a little bit scammy to me. Let's talk about these gold features more in depth. Now here is the weirdest one of all. Depending on how much cash money you give them, you get a differing amount of Puka points for each referral. Why? Does this mean that you want rich people's friends more than poor people's friends? I think that if I am promoting your website to my group of friends, I deserve just as much as anyone else. Paying has nothing to do with it. If I am promoting your site, you should be just as happy as if anyone else is. What other features do we get for premium membership anyway? Emails? Holy shit, Pucatrade! Do not blow my mind here. I've never gotten an email from a trading website before. When my money gets moved around, you're breaking too much ground. Back off. And the other amazing one is list export. This one really blows my mind. It never occurred to me before now that after spending hundreds of hours putting my entire catalog of Magic cards on your website, that I might have some right to that data. That just seems crazy to me. Thank you for giving me that option for such a low price. Hilariously, Pucatrade has an article on their website called "Is Pucatrade a Pyramid Scheme?" In the article, they define the concept: a form of investment, illegal in the US and elsewhere, in which each paying participant, here, let me take 2 completely anonymous YouTube screenshots to illustrate, recruits 2 other participants, with returns being given to early participants using money contributed by later ones. Now, is Pucatrade a pyramid scheme? No, because those new people aren't putting money into the system. They're just giving the people before them Puka points and trading cards and maybe buying a membership. I would also like to point out the hilarious graphs that Pucatrade uses to defend itself in its articles. Take a look at this one. Is this from a dating website? Here, let me fix it for you. Let's talk about the people at the top of the pyramid. Clearly, doing paid videos from Pucatrade leads to a lot of referrals. But how many? Well, earlier this year, the Mana Source released a video telling people to go to Pucatrade to trade between pre-release and actual release for Oath of the Gatewatch. And shortly after, Pucatrade put up an article welcoming the recent swell of about 5,000 new members and saying, "Hello, Wedge fans," basically. Now this points out exactly why YouTubers that are doing paid videos are a terrible judge of Pucatrade. If you are getting $15,000 for making a video on Pucatrade, you are not an average trader. You are basically a card vacuum. These people are not putting in the amount of cards that they are getting out. So of course, Pucatrade seems amazing! So why does Pucatrade throw points at their premium members like people throw beads at hot girls on Mardi Gras? Well, the answer is that Pucatrade is under constant deflation. See, what happens is, as people join, they add cards to the card pool. The card pool keeps growing. We have to add in Puka points to match that card pool, right? So, what do? They throw tons of points at the premium members. The other problem with this inventory of cards is that it tends to just keep on raising in value because Magic cards just don't act like other forms of investment. Stocks go up and down, currencies go up and down, even gold goes up and down, despite what people selling you gold try to make you think. Magic cards tend not to do this for several reasons. One of them is the reserve list, price memory, and the laughably slow reprint rate. I mean, have you seen how they're printing Magic cards these days? Crazy reprints! All your favorite cards from Modern in one place. Just crack a pack and you're on your way to your next winning Modern deck. Available while supplies last. Actual Modern cards at Mythic rarity only. Packaging not tamper-proof. Cards may be banned in less than a year. Packaging errors in less than 1 and 2 packs. Cards may have whitened borders. This commercial is a parody. Now, 10 months ago, Pucatrade started an Indiegogo campaign which raised $60,000. And none of the features that were promised ever came to be. And there's also no deadline for those features. Now, apparently it's been discussed a little bit on the Pucatrade podcast, so please go listen to that for many hours and invest more in Pucatrade, please. But even when this campaign started, you could see that the Pucatrade guys had the wrong values as a company. Just look at this list. Goal number 1, Pucatrade swag. Goal number 2, a delightful user experience. I will just let that ordering speak for itself. Of course, even at this time, they were trying to hold your foils hostage in exchange for cash. And what are they even trying to do with this future site? Well, Premium members can put dibs on cards before they even come up for trade. So free members can go die in a hole for all we care, because they'll get about as much trading done doing that as using our site. Why would you even try to compete against your future-seeing, robotic trading overlords? So I imagine that this video has a decent chance of being seen by the folks at Pucatrade, and understandably, they might not be that happy with me for giving their site a deserved pull through the dung heap. However, let it not be said that I am simply here to destroy. I would also like to offer some solutions. So here they are. Let's start by admitting something true. Pucatrade is a service that many people want, and for the most part, cards get from A to B without a problem, although let's be real, near mint cards are more the exception than they are the rule. However, there are several things that Pucatrade does that seem to be blatantly money-grabbing, are bad for the customer, seem illegitimate, or are just illogical. First, remove these features from pro accounts. They are basic things that any trader is able to do. Cutting them out just to try to get money is ridiculous. Second, reward everyone equally for giving your site positive exposure. Why this isn't already the case is truly baffling to me. Third, remove top posting for pro accounts. Now I know this seems insane. This is the main feature that you're offering any account at the moment. However, consider this. The Pucatrade dream is for people to trade a bunch of cards that they don't want for a few valuable cards that they do want. However, when all of your free members feel that they cannot get those cards that they need, fetch lands, shock lands, because they're pushed hundreds of steps down below everyone else, then those people will stop trading. When those people stop trading, your economy slows down. Now your pro traders don't have anyone to trade with, and the site goes downhill quite quickly. Remember, Pucatrade cannot feed off of new traders forever. Eventually, it has to have a sustained user base. There's a limited amount of Magic players. Fourth, and I haven't mentioned this in the video before, but remove the tie between the US dollar and the Puka point. There's no logical reason to have this connection, especially since you made it against the rules to sell Puka points for cash. A change in the rules, by the way, that was completely unannounced. It's better to keep these things, a quiet change so nobody knows. But anyway, Pucatrade is not the Federal Reserve, and the US dollar does not move in any way that's particularly beneficial to Magic card trading. Imagine, if you will, that the US goes through a period of inflation, right? And what happens to people's Puka points? Well, suddenly they're completely worthless. And there's no reason for them to be. There's no reason for the Puka point to have anything to do with the US dollar. Now let's imagine together a Pucatrade in which you set the value of the Puka point based on a gold standard group of cards. For simplicity, let's say that one Puka point will always be worth one lightning bolt. In this scenario, you can imagine the dollar and Magic cards moving a lot compared to each other, just as they do today. But Magic cards don't move that much relative to each other. They tend to move as one big group. And so what happens is you get a much more balanced economy. Imagine with me that you sold an entire modern burn deck on Pucatrade. In current Pucatrade, if I came back 5 years later and tried to use those points to buy a modern deck, I would get, half of my modern burn deck back. But there's no reason for that to be the case. In the case where the Puka point is set against card value instead of dollar value, then I will still be able to use my one Puka point to get one lightning bolt 5 years later. This would turn Pucatrade into a trusted vault for people's card worth, and it would be an additional service. Fifth, stop giving away Puka points to people who subscribe to your service. Give them actual service. Now, you might ask yourself, how are we supposed to add Puka points to the economy and get people to give us money at the same time? Well, first, Give them actual features. So for example, in your future site, which may or may not ever be coming, you have a feature in which you, instead of auto-matching a person to a single card, it'll find you a person who needs a bundle of cards, and you can make all the trades at once. However, you're not giving that away on the pro accounts, you're giving that away on the free accounts. Now that is the definition of a pro feature, a real reason why people would want to have a pro account. So give your actual pro features to pro accounts, make some logical sense. You could even, for example, team up with like MTG Stocks and give people newsletters in their pro email accounts about all the movements of Magic cards and what you expect to happen, blah blah blah. Give people real features. As for adding Puka points to the economy, there is an easy way to do this. Instead of the rich get richer method that you currently are utilizing, instead have a 2x Puka point trading day or week or whatever. First of all, it pours Puka points into your economy just like you want. Secondly, it incentivizes people to use your site. 2 birds, 1 stone. I am available for further consultation on an hourly basis.